One.
Yeah, hello everybody, and this is a quick transition, I promised. Now we are in Illusion of Gaia, a randomizer, and our runner is Z. And without further ado, I will give it to you, Z.
Yeah, hi, thanks. My name is SO5Z. With me I brought Solar Cell, who's currently a world record holder of the vanilla speedrun in a couple of categories, and we're gonna show you Illusion of Gaia Randomizer. And yeah, I guess we had some time setting up. We got a lot of stuff to tell, but I guess we'll just jump in the game, explain how it goes. Solar, are you ready?
I am born ready for this, Z.
Okay, then I guess in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you. Oh, nice starting position.
So, okay. Well, go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. So welcome to Illusion to Gaia Randomizer, everybody. You might be thinking, wow, this game from Quintet, it's kind of linear, most like all the other Quintet games, pretty linear. So how do you turn this into a randomizer? And we'll go through things once Z picks up the items that we need to kind of turn this into a non-linear kind of game. But right off the bat, you can see we're starting in Seaside Palace, not the usual South Cape you might be used to. So that's part of the safe start function that the game has as a randomization. You can start in any dark space location in the game. So he's starting in Seaside Palace, safe start because there's nothing really dangerous here. It might be on the next floor, but it's considered a town kind of area. So what he's going to do, he's going to be running around checking for the free checks that he has right now. Seaside Palace is a little bit of a constricted area, so we're going to assume he's going to find some kind of access out of here.
Already did.
He's already picked up the new palace key.
And I picked up my first fetch quest item, which is the purification stone, which I'm just using. And now I have people again in the Seaside Palace.
So if you know the vanilla game, you'll notice that cutscene with the purification stone went by really, really quick. Don't bagoo me, who's the creator of this randomizer, put in a lot of nice life-easing things with sped-up cutscenes. And we'll see a few of those as we go through this seed. So that's more or less all the checks he can do right now. He has new palace key, so he's going to be exiting once he gets back to the top of the Seaside Palace.
Just gonna talk to Buffy real quick.
Mm-hmm.
See,
and I'll have access to a couple more areas after this.
Come on, talk to me. Oh, diamond block. That's not too bad of a find. The tracker has a slight delay. I don't know what's causing it, but
it'll usually pick up after a little bit.
Yeah.
No worries there. Okay, so while he's making his way out of Seaside Palace, what else do we have in this seed? We have Safe Start, we have Early Firebird, which is something you can unlock. If you know the vanilla game, you'll know that for the final boss, you normally fight with Shadow, and he has Firebird unlocked as his ultimate weapon. For the randomizer, if you have this option turned on, you actually can unlock that if you acquire Kara, the Crystal Ring, and the Aura. So with any luck, we'll get those before the end of the seed, and we can kind of show that off as he's going through trying to find the mystic statues he needs. He's walking up to the jeweler. We're going to see what rewards the jeweler has. This is also randomized.
Pretty much useless. I got one hieroglyph and the secret passage on 40, I guess, is important. It can be important. But other than that, it was a pretty disappointing jeweler so far.
Yeah, so what you saw there was the jeweler having randomized rewards and also randomized final total for a number of red jewels you have to collect to get to the jeweler's mansion. It's not necessarily 50 red jewels like the vanilla game. No, so if he just needs 40, that's 10 red jewels he doesn't have to find to get to the mansion.
Yeah, it's definitely depends on the difficulty. I'm playing on normal difficulty, so the prices aren't extremely high. But if you play on hard or extreme, it gets closer to the 50 or even gets the 50. It's not as common on normal difficulty. It's usually between 40 and 38, but yeah, sometimes you can have a bit of bad luck. And that was my first hint.
Yeah, so Z was just saying normal and extreme and hard, and what he's referring to is the logic difficulty of the seed, which is separate from the combat difficulty. I think you started on intermediate combat difficulty, Z?
Yes.
Okay, so that's usually the standard choice of everybody whenever they're running through one of these seeds. But the logic difficulty dictates a few things. As long as you're not on extreme, you'll be able to talk to certain NPCs or specific items like Kara's diary there for hints about certain things in the game. And these hints might be trolly or they might be super helpful, and it's up to you, the runner, to figure out which they are.
Yeah, this hint was super helpful. It told me where Spin Dash is. Spin Dash is one of my will abilities that I definitely need to play this seed for bosses, for dungeons. And now I know where it is. Now I just need to find my way there.
Yep, and that's specifically useful because for the most part in this game you need 3 moves for full access to everything. 2 will abilities and 1 Freedan ability. Spin Dash being one of the ones that are super useful. But also for the logic difficulty, it dictates, I guess the combat difficulty is what dictates the herbs. For the logic difficulty,
for
the logic difficulty, you'll
logic difficulty dictates on the locations. So if you're forced to double dip into dungeons or not, it's more likely the higher the difficulty is. Combat difficulty decides how many stat upgrades you get from bosses. On intermediate, it's going to be 3 stat upgrades. 1 is always going to be an HP upgrade. The other 2 are random, so they could be HP, strength, or defense. And my herbs are going to be vanilla. They're going to heal 8 HP per usage. You're going to see my counter of herbs goes up in the tracker. But in my inventory, this will always be only 1 herb. That's because for the randomizer, Don't Bagoo Me added stackable herbs, so they don't take up an item slot each herb. They just stack, and I can use them one after the other. And now I've just found a very important NPC, which is the teacher. And I found my first will ability, which is useless.
You say useless, but you could still need that to get access to things.
Yes.
But yeah, well said on what the difficulties were. That's a lot to unpack with, especially what we just saw. You'll notice that he just appeared in South Cape, and that's because he acquired his first continental travel item, Lola's Letter. That's something that in the vanilla game you get towards the end of the game, but here it's used as a means to travel between the first 3 continents of the game. So you can go between South Cape, Diamond Coast, and Watermea.
And I'm not gonna skip this check.
He's gonna go through his Moon Tribe challenge. Depending on the settings, this is made easier or difficult. Seems like it's on the vanilla settings right now. 20 seconds to kill those 6 worms.
I think it's always 20 seconds. It's only you get more time if it's Randomizer. But
right.
Luckily, we don't have Randomizer right now. Okay, let's go Inca. I got got the diamond block. Might as well check the dark space.
Now, while he was in South Cape, he went and talked to the teacher, like he said. You can set up any random amount of statues needed to beat the seed. You can make that the game's choice. You can make that your choice. So this is the game's choice. He needs 4 statues. He's Mystic Statue 1, 2, 3, and 4. So he needs a fair amount of collecting items to get to all 4 of these bosses.
Except for boss number 4. Boss number 4 is a special boss. He's locked behind abilities. But every other boss is gonna require 4 specific items. I've got 1 item of those already, which is the diamond block for boss number 1. And I've got 1 Rammer statue, which is gonna unlock boss number 3, which are the vampires. But yeah. So I have 12 required items just for bosses. And I also need to find the magic dust somewhere along the way. to free Princess Kara.
Who is not trapped in a painting in Ishtar's studio, guaranteed. She's actually in one of 5 locations. She could be at Ishtar's, at Angel Dungeon. She could be at the back of Edward's prison. She could be in Diamond Coast. She could be in the back of Mount Crest, or she could be at the back of Angkor Wat.
Yeah, basically, that's what we call a minor dungeon or a major dungeon. The major dungeons have bosses at the end of them, and the minor dungeons possibly have Kara at the end of them. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around the minor dungeons for now, until I have the magic dust, or at least I'm trying, so that when I enter a minor dungeon, I can clear it and not be disappointed to see Kara at the end and don't have magic dust, which meaning I have to play the whole dungeon again just to free the princess, which can be annoying if it's like Angkor Wat or Cress.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what am I doing? I don't need to check the stock space, I can just...
Okay, so he's talking about not checking that dark space. There's a different kind of logic besides a difficulty logic. There's also something that you can set between completable, beatable, and chaos. In completable, you're never going to be unlocked out of anything in the game. You'll have access to all items. But in beatable and chaos, it's possible that you will be locked out. And one way to tell if you're going to be locked out is if there's an ability move at a dark space that's the only dark space you have access to at some point in the dungeon. But because this is a completable seed, he knows that certain dark spaces aren't going to have moves in them because that would lock him out of the rest.
Yeah, to play... Basically, the completable suits logic allows me to play 100% of the seed if I want to, and it also doesn't expect me to do any speedrun strats or any special techniques. It allows me to play the seed very vanilla/casual. So in this dungeon, what usually would happen is that I would transform into Freeden to kill an enemy that's out of reach, but I didn't do that. Instead, I just used an extended hit to open a shortcut, and now I'm gonna use another glitch. The newest glitch, which also made it into the vanilla speedrun in all categories, which is called the Inca ladder glitch or C ladder. Basically what I'm doing, I'm skipping the whole middle section of this dungeon, which is 3 very long, very tedious rooms, a lot of walking back and forth, and I'm just saving about a minute to a minute and a half of just running through rooms with nothing happening. And I'm backtracking to get that one chest that's at the end of the last room. But basically the whole middle sections with the ramps, and you have to unlock the ramps and jump over the water, I'm just skipping that and I'm just running straight to the end.
That's interesting. You call that the Z ladder glitch. Why do we call that the Z ladder glitch?
Because it's so easy that even I can do it.
Oh my gosh. What he's too humble to say is that he's the one that discovered that while playing through the randomizer, which actually cut a huge chunk of time out of the vanilla speedrun in all of the categories.
Yeah, a lot of the recent glitches or routing differences have been found playing the randomizer. Oh my god, what is this Inca Ruins? I can go check the boss now if I want to. Yeah, so the wrong warp has been found in the randomizer, C ladder has been found in the randomizer, and the new pyramid routing has been found. The item buffering has been, I mean, it has been used in the randomizer mostly, but it made its way into the all bosses category at least. And this seed is really kind to me. So what it just saw in my tracker is that I found the green melody, which is the wind melody. The wind melody allows me to find out which of these gold tiles will open the door. I need to stand on a specific tile for 10 seconds. There's 120 tiles, is that right? No.
I think there's 72.
72, okay. It's still a lot. And to stand on each tile for 10 seconds would take forever. But if I play this melody, then this tile, the randomized tile, is gonna glow. And now the door is open. And what this dungeon also gave me is it gave me 2 Inca statues, which means I can just run straight to the boss and get my first boss kill in.
So, yeah, don't let this dungeon fool you with him having Inca statues and Wind Melody in it. That's not the intent. It's not like a dungeon's items are just kind of stuck in its own dungeon.
No.
It's just really, really rare how
that was really, really convenient. It's just... Oh, and it's a Freedom ability. So, Freedom is a second combat form, has a big sword, deals more damage. So I'm gonna use it to kill bosses. And it's Aura Barrier, which is... not really that... I mean, it's kinda helpful, but I was hoping to see Dark Freya.
Useful for warping.
Yeah, I could use it for warping. I can use it in Sky Garden as well. But I'm gonna take it anyway because I want to be Freedom for this boss. This is the first boss named Kastov, and this boss is very interesting because there's an item locked behind this boss. So I'm pretty happy to have him out of the way early, because then I know what item is locked behind him.
I'll be quiet while you're fighting him.
You don't have to be quiet, I'm not gonna go for the one cycle. I'm a scrub,
Okay, well.
I'm a scrub, I'm gonna go for safety strats.
Okay. Well, regardless of that, while he's killing Kastov right here, what he did talk about was the fact that the golden tiles were randomized, and that's not the case in vanilla. In vanilla, it's always in the 5th row, 4th from the right. There's a few other things that are in each seed that's randomized. The puzzles in the Angel Village dungeon, the hieroglyph order, like I said, Kara's location. Trying to think of any other, but GG on beating up Kastov.
Thank you.
Well done.
And then now I got some stat upgrades. You see my HP is up to 12 now, which is from 9. So I got 1 HP upgrade, which is worth 3 HP. And my strength went up from 2 to 4. So all my attacks with will deal 4 damage now. And my jump attacks will deal 5 damage. But that's only for regular enemies in dungeons. The damage I do to bosses is always going to be hard-coded. So no matter how many strength I have, Freedom will always deal 2 damage to bosses. Will always deal 1 damage. And Shadow, which we haven't seen yet, which we're hopefully going to see soon, is going to deal 3 damage to bosses. And boss HP is hard-coded at 40. So if I kill a boss with Will, I have to hit him 40 times. If I kill a boss with Shadow, I have to hit him 14 times. So of course I'm gonna try to use Shadow on as many boss kills as possible. And now we travel to the second continent, which means I have a new town. Every continent has 1 or 2 towns. Towns usually have items either in fetch quests or talking to certain NPCs or in barrels and jars and stuff like that. So while in dungeons you usually find them in treasure chests. You saw them in Inca. I had a lot of treasure chests. Here I'm just gonna talk to certain guys, check some trash cans for items. Yeah, that kind of thing.
So as he said, he gained some stat upgrades from beating Kastov, and much like the vanilla game, any enemies you skip from dungeons that are associated with a boss, you'll get all of those stat upgrades. So those stat upgrades were in Edward's dungeon and also Inca, but because he skipped all those, he automatically acquired all of them when he beat Kastov.
That's a difference between the vanilla game. In the vanilla game, every enemy will give you every room will give you a stat upgrade, but these stat upgrades are less powerful. In the randomizer, it depends on your combat difficulty. Like I said, I'm playing on vanilla. I'm playing on intermediate, so the herbs are like in vanilla. The enemy HP and the damage I take is pretty much vanilla. And I'm gonna get 3 stats worth of upgrades for, associated to each boss. So if I go to what am I doing anyway? I'm going Sky Garden. So if I kill a boss, or if I'm clearing the rooms in the dungeons, there's only going to be 3 rooms that will give me those upgrades instead of each and every room having a less powerful upgrade.
And usually when you get to a room, you can press start and you can see if there's a little force icon
Like this one
on your
doesn't
tracker. So there wasn't one on that top left corner, so he knows that if he killed all the enemies in here, he wouldn't get anything. If you find the black glasses, they not only get rid of the bright light and anchor watt, but they also identify what bonus you'll get if you kill all the enemies in a room. So he would know if he would get a strength or HP upgrade or defense upgrade.
Just found Lola's Melody. This is usually the first item most people find in when they play the game. But in the randomizer it only has 1 use. So this is an item you would usually carry around in your inventory till the end of the game. But in the randomizer, these kind of items have like a one-time use, and then they give you a permanent benefit. Like when I used the Wind Melody, it didn't stay in my inventory, it got deleted out of my inventory, but the door will stay open. And this could be really good if this is Dark Freya. No, it's not.
So the important reason for the items actually being removed and those effects being permanent is that you can see in his inventory, he only has 16 locations of space in his inventory. So inventory management is actually a big thing with this randomizer. It helps you need to be able to plan on where you're going. You need to know when you can drop off items to free up some space, because if your inventory is full, then you're not going to be able to pick up any items. The game will say your inventory is full, you can't pick these up. So he's going to be using consumable items as much as he can.
Yeah, I can use red jewels out of my inventory. I can use certain travel items to give me a buff. Like Lola's letter, I could just use out of my inventory. The black glasses or the crystal ring I can use out of my inventory and get a buff. But certain items like Solar Set, I need to get to a specific location. Like the Lola Melody, I need to play in Italy to get it out of my inventory. And yeah, you just saw me die on purpose. You've seen it in Inca as well. This is called death warping. This is a common speedrun strategy, and it's also heavily abused in the randomizer. When you die, you get teleported back to the start of the dungeon, or in this case, in the start of the room. This dungeon has the 4 different rooms, and walking back is always slow, always takes time. So whenever I'm in a dungeon and I want to get back to this, back out of it, I'm usually going to death warp. And now I'm gonna prepare to use the aura barrier in a non-intended way. Usually in this dungeon I wouldn't have the aura barrier yet, but I already picked it up because randomizer. And I can use it to activate the statue. In vanilla I would use Dark Freya here, but it turns out aura barrier can be used. And now I can use another speedrun technique, which is called item buffering. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my item without having an item equipped, which will trigger a text box that says you're not equipped. And while this text box is on the screen, I can input I can do another input, like an attack input or a direction input, and I'm gonna use it to get to a pixel perfect position where I can just pass the statue. Usually you would have to attack the statue, then the sword gets active, then you have to hit the sword 3 times, and then you have to use your telekinesis to pull the statue out of the way, and this takes time. And with item buffering I can just get in a pixel perfect position, walk past it, and get this item without all that stuff.
And he's not kidding about it being pixel perfect. I mean, if you could move pixel perfect, you wouldn't have to hit that statue. But if you were off a pixel, you would automatically drop down off that ledge and have to run all the way back around again. So it's very useful in certain situations, the item buffer.
Yeah. You're also going to see me use item buffering as Will a lot, because usually when Will attacks, he stops running. And if I'm item buffering, I'm gonna item buffer a attack input, so I don't get the attack animation, and I can basically charge up my abilities while running. So that saves a little bit of time, because every run is a double tap in this game. There's no dedicated run button like in Super Mario or like in Terranigma, for example. Every change of direction has to be done with a double tap. So the less changes of directions or the less stops I have to do, the faster I can go. And if I have to stop just to attack, to charge up an ability, or if I can just do it on the run, that makes a big difference. And it also allows me to get into certain movement cycles. Like in the pyramids, you're gonna see me use it a lot to... there's a room where there's spikes coming down from the ceiling periodically, and I can use item buffering to get an earlier cycle in those spikes, for example.
Alright, so he's just about to finish up going through what he can in Sky Garden right now. There's
Yeah.
still one chest he's going to have to leave behind because he doesn't have Dark Friar.
Yeah. That's too bad, but...
Now, is it safe to assume we know where you're going to go after this?
I was thinking maybe maybe Diamond Mine, because it has 3 dark spaces for me at the moment, but I could also go into the Great Wall at this point, or Mu. But I think Diamond Mine, I have the elevator key as well. I think I get more easier items in the Diamond Mine right now.
Cool, cool.
So at this point, I'm more interested in dark spaces than items, to be very honest. I know where my spin dash is gonna be. It's gonna be in Native's Village. I got a hint about it. So I need either the Memory Melody or the Will to get there. But I'm still looking for my Dark Freya, because boss 4 is on the menu. And for boss 4, I need a distance ability, like either Dark Freya or Early Firebirds, but I don't have any idea where Kara is. I don't have Magic Dust. I don't have... Oh, defense upgrade. Very nice. I'll take that. Thank you very much. And yeah, I have no idea how soon I will get Early Firebird. So looking for Dark Freya makes the most sense now.
Did you just get a health drop at full health?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just what happens if you're a noob and playing this game, then the game recognizes, oh my god, better give this guy some health drops.
You say so.
No, the defense upgrade is very useful because it decreases the damage I take by 1. So these guys used to do 2 damage against me, but also but now it's only 1. That was my first It's Nothing item. There's also 2 of those in the game. I got another health drop. I don't believe it. Oh wow. The defense is very nice because it also lowers the damage I take from bosses, and it can make a difference if you're a 3-shot or a 2-shot from a boss. So that's very helpful, and since the amazing Mr. Seedmaster made a very generous donation for a very good cause, which is Save the Children, of course, but he also used that donation to unlock the secret boss of this randomizer, which is Apocalypse Gaia, and this is a pretty hard boss fight, so I'm happy. The more defense I get, the better I will feel about it.
You've not seen... Oh, go ahead.
Speaking of a good cause, do we have time for a donation?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we got $1 from Estimate, and Estimate said, I don't want you to have all of me. So I guess Estimate said, we need to hurry up.
I'm doing my best, but some things have to come by themselves. Oh, yes, there we go. That's actually vanilla, right? Yeah, it is.
That is vanilla.
Oh my god, is this even randomized? Okay, this is my Dark Freya. In the tracker, you also see that it has a star above, so I also have the Dark Freya upgrades, which means it will deal more damage, and I can split it into into 4 smaller fireballs. That also means I don't have to check any dark space anymore, because I know where my slider will be. But it's the perfect position to find this, because in this dungeon is another check which is locked behind the Dark Freya, so I can just do that and then leave the dungeon, because this guy up there I can't hit except with Dark Freya. And now I can get the last item of the lower section, which is an herb, which is okay, I guess.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the game, there are only 12 herbs in the game, and there's no way to resupply them, so if you're going to be doing something difficult, like a very, very hard difficulty for combat, or if you're going to be fighting Apocalypse Gaia, you're going to want to be hanging on to as many of those as you can.
Yeah, I'm basically trying to save all of those for the last boss fight. It depends. I guess the vampires fight could be a point where I might want to use them. But if I have Shadow for the vampires fight, which is a thing that can happen in Randomizer, then I'm probably not gonna need it. So now we see the speedy elevator.
Another
Which
boost from Bagu.
Don't Bagoo me also sped up. And basically I can finish this dungeon as well, except for the last item. But Diamond Mine is a dungeon I don't particularly mind coming back, because I can get to this last item very quickly. So I don't mind what we call double dipping in this dungeon that much. There are dungeons that are way more annoying to go in twice or even more often. Like Mount Crest would be one of those dungeons that I don't want to go in more often than I really have to.
Right.
Come on.
This is the one drawback of getting defense upgrades. When you're trying to death warp, it takes much longer.
Yeah, but you can counteract it by taking damage while you already move to a certain position. And there's always a good. It's always faster to death warp than to walk, and even if it's always better to have more defense than die. And I guess now we're gonna switch continents again. I can go to continent 1, do some stuff I skipped. Yeah, that sounds good right now. So I've just been to the Moon Tribe and Inca here, and South Cap obviously. But there's also the hidden village that's called Italy. As you can see, you don't see anything. But once I play the magic melody, the village will appear.
As he said, it'll disappear from his inventory, and then I think you'll have a little icon.
Yeah. You have basically a little icon next to any item you use. That's a really... This is the emo tracker application I'm using, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really useful.
Yeah, shout outs to Apocalypse Me for putting that together and helping
And
with the
I found the will. I'm happy.
Okay, another travel item. That'll get him from Water Mia to Euro and vice versa. So,
Gonna get another hint from this old guy. Inca has Inca Statue A. Yeah, I know that already. So, that was not as useful.
Relatively soon after he gets to Euro, I'm assuming he's just going to go to Native's Village and pick up his final move.
Yeah. I was thinking about going to Edward's Castle, but right now I think I want to go to Euro and Native's Village.
Well, you do whatever the heck you want to do. I was just saying.
Nah,
Once you do actually get there.
Nah, I think the problem with Edward's Castle. No, wait. I can get the outside items, right? Now you're making me double rethink my decisions, Solar. You just
I didn't even suggest anything.
no. The Edward's Castle is one of the dungeons where I don't want to double dip into because yeah, it takes a while. It takes you need to do an a mini RP section to get into the dungeon, and oh, Gorgon Flower is nice though. So I only can get to a certain point with the prison key that I have. So I'm gonna go in, but there's a certain at a certain point there will be a door I can't open because I need my friend Lily to push a button for me. But I guess I'm gonna take the check. Hieroglyph tile. Thanks, Hamlet. Not very useful, but say hi to Hamlet. Yeah, this is the vanilla first dungeon you're in, so the enemies are just gonna fall over, especially since I have 4 strength. So this is not gonna be very difficult, and the death warps are gonna take very long.
Yeah, I don't even know why you came in here.
Maybe because I just wanted to be here.
No, I know.
This is also a dungeon where Kara could be, but I don't have the magic dust yet. So I couldn't save her if I found her, but I can't even get to the end of the dungeon, so yeah.
So, not that it really matters for this, but this room specifically was also changed around in the vanilla speedruns because of the Z ladder skip that Z found.
Yeah, the usually runners would pick up a herb in the Inca ruins, but because of Z ladder we skipped the room where this herb would be. So the backup herb is in the chest behind those spikes, and that meant the room went from pretty easy to annoying RNG with how the skeleton moves and yeah, how the spikes move, and it's a bit of a pain to get good RNG in this room. And now I'm pretty happy that I went in because I found the Gorgon Flower and the Apple, which are 2 fetch quest items that I'm gonna need on Continent 4, which is the continent I just unlocked. So wasn't that much a waste of a time, because I can use these items to unlock other items. So now I could go to Moo. I have the slider to do shortcuts, but I don't like Moo, so Moo is always the last place I go. I don't know, I don't like this dungeon a lot.
I'm having nightmares of our race earlier today, just for that reason.
Not even that race earlier, it's just, with slider it's okay, but Moo would be 4 items right now. The dark space I don't care, because I know it's not gonna be anything in there. But I can get 4 items in Euro way faster than I could get them in Moo.
So you'll notice this line's moving pretty fast, and this is one of the most important changes Don't Bagumi made into the randomizer. He sped that line up. In vanilla, that line moves so slowly, you could actually run to Mount Crest and warp into the store before you would actually get through that line.
Or you can use it for your P-break if you're doing a 100% run.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually happens. It's I think it's about 6 minutes. You have to just stand there and wait for the line to move on. Okay, this is Continent 4. Continent 4 doesn't have any major dungeons, it just has 2 minor dungeons. Another strength upgrade. Jesus. They want me to demolish everything.
So it was important that he found Slider, and he's going to find, he knows where Spin Dash is, but a lot of the second half of the game's minor dungeons are locked behind those moves. And it's hard to progress without having those, so he's pretty good on progression right now.
Yeah.
He has a lot of checks open to him.
I could go to Angel Village as well, which would be 5 items. Oh, Lance Letter is not bad.
Don't read it.
Asynchronous. Oh.
Told you not to read it.
I mean, I already get 2 mushroom drops, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So that's actually really helpful because I wasn't going to the Angel Village dungeon. Because at the end of Angel Village dungeon could be Kara and I don't have the magic dust. But now that I know she's not there, it's actually... Do I get anything else? No. 40.
Yeah, so what he's saying is Angel Dungeon, Mount Crest, and Anchor Wat are pretty rough to go through most of the way, if not all the way, and not have the magic dust and have Kara end up being at the back of them, because then you have to run all the way back through the dungeon.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm gonna go to natives first, of course.
Blame me for saying Anchor Wat.
You should know. Usually I go to Angkor Wat because I check the first chest. That one, there's one chest I can check without any abilities. I just walk in, take the chest, and go out. But I'm actually able to clear the whole dungeon if I wanted to, as soon as I pick up this ability, which is the Spin Dash, which is the best ability in the whole game. It allows me to jump up ramps. It allows me to destroy enemies really fast. And it allows me to, even if I don't kill the enemies, to move through them without getting hit. So it's really very, very useful in the pyramids, in Crest, in Angkor Wat, even in Great Wall. I can use it a ton of times. And now that I have more information and my Spin Dash, I'm gonna get some more stat upgrades first. I'm gonna go to the Great Wall now. The Great Wall I skipped so far, because I knew where my Spin Dash was and I'm gonna need Spin Dash in this dungeon, but now it's the time. I can full clear this dungeon, and I can kill the second boss of this run, but the 4th boss in the order, which is Sandfanger, or Trollfanger.
Now, I mean, you want to give people a good show, right? So we're going to hope for a Party Fanger.
Party Fanger, yeah. I'm up for Party Fanger. This is a pretty easy dungeon. It's in the middle of the game, but it's actually very generous in enemy movement patterns or in the space you have to move. Like you don't have these narrow paths like in Crest, and you don't have a ton of enemies that shoot projectiles at you like you have in Mu. And it's pretty straightforward. Go into a room, run through it, and get out again. So it's pretty. I like it a lot, even though it's story-wise after Mu. It's one of my favorite dungeons. And with that much strength that I have, my slider is now doing a metric ton of damage. So even if I have to get past an enemy, it's not that hard. Like you see, these guys are just falling over.
So for those who are in chat right now, do we have any guesses for how many egg cycles we think our wonderful Z here might see in his fight? And egg cycles, for those not aware, are one of the 3 patterns that Sandfanger can do. She'll have a 25% chance to do that on any attack she'll do.
All of them,
Yeah. The only thing that the runner can influence is the horizontal or vertical, and that just flips them between 50% and 25%. But 25% is static for egg cycles.
Yeah.
You have a lot of fans in chat right now.
I see. I'm reading it. Yeah, so This place already also has a couple of dark spaces. I'm gonna skip all the dark spaces because I basically have every ability right now. The only time when I'm gonna go into a dark space is either if I'm desperate for a heal or if I need a transformation, which in this case I need. I need Freedan to kill this archer guy because now it unlocks a passage. But I'm gonna run back and transform back into Will because Sandfanger is one of 2 bosses I can only defeat as Will, because right in front of the boss is a ramp and I need Spin Dash to jump over that ramp. So that's a boss I will have to sink 40 hits in, and like Walden said, it's easy to miss hits on Sandfanger. So yeah, this can take a while, even with egg phases. Because my 5 strength is completely useless. Will only does 1 damage to bosses, period. Nothing I can do about it. Though 1.5 egg phases would be kind of rude, I have to say. Oh, come on.
Keep our fingers crossed for you.
Come on. There we go.
Beat the heck out of that poor statue.
It's standing in my way. It has to move. Okay, this is the last ramp.
I'll go for an average 3 eggs for you.
We'll see. I'm not too worried about Sandfanger. Actually a pretty easy boss, even if you miss hits. That's my first. Ooh, 2 in a row. Not bad.
Yeah, so these are the cycles that you actually want to see, because you can get up to 8 hits on each of those, and
Yeah,
for
though
the horizontal vertical you can only really get to 3 if you're really stretching it for the horizontal. But the worst cycle you can find is a vertical cycle. It takes up the most time between each cycle.
Yeah, sadly I didn't get 8 in both X cycles, so there's already a couple of missed hits. I missed 5 hits in total already.
It's hard to do if the eggs, like, if she doesn't spawn right in front of you, it's hard to get in position in time to get all 8.
Whoops, I didn't want to use slider because that means I'm not back. I'm always moving back to the right, to the same position, because I want to trigger horizontal phases instead of verticals. But if I slider, then sometimes I'm not back in the right position at the time. Basically, if she spawns left of me, I know it's gonna be a vertical phase. But if she spawns right of me, it's most likely gonna be a vertical. So
GG.
thanks. That was okay. I'm not too worried. I was 7 missed hits. That's about my average. Would be a reset for any speedrunner with the salt in his veins, but for me it's actually pretty good.
Reset, rage fest, whatever.
Yeah, what you're gonna see me do is a lot of speedrun strats that I try to do, but at certain points I'm just gonna use safety strats instead. Because, yeah, it's not that making the right decisions or picking the right strategies saves you more time than squeezing out a 1/10 of a second with a risky strat. So usually I'm using certain safety strats or certain slower strats that are just more consistent. And I don't have to talk to this NPC, but I just did for whatever reason.
I've always been terrified, because I usually hit buffer B going to that door. I'm always terrified I'm going to do that. It's
like at this point you can squeeze through this skeleton, but you can always hit it, and then he runs away, and yeah, it's a bit slower, but it's way more consistent. At least for me it is.
Solid logic. I go by that too. There's a lot of crazy stuff, but if you can do consistency over risk, it works out 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. And like I said,
So-
in the randomizer, it usually doesn't come down to the 10th of a second. It usually... Oops. It's usually down to making the right choices.
Like we said earlier, there's a few different puzzles or whatnot that's randomized in here, and he's coming up to some pretty
come
shortly.
on.
So if you're paying attention, he's gonna be having 4 different puzzles where you have to notice the difference between room A and room B. He's gonna be flying in and out of these pretty quick, but see if you can see what the difference is between them, because they're not vanilla necessarily.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a couple of hits now, because Sandfinger gave me 2 defense upgrades. And after this dungeon I want to... Oh, come on. Death Warp. So I should have taken... I wasn't paying attention. 3 defense is really great for Upper Gaia later, but I should have taken way more hits on my way there. Because now the Death Warp is gonna be a bit slower. I don't need to check this room where Kara would be. I know she's in Cress. But of course I'm gonna pick up the items. And we're actually pretty good on time. I already have all my abilities. 2 bosses are down already. I'm 1 item away from killing the 3rd one. Uncovered his teapot. Okay. That's not as helpful, but...
Alright, so we're looking at vases, we're looking at the color of vases, we're looking at windows, we're looking at chairs. You notice that vase was different. Same kind of deal here. The next room after this, we'll be looking at chest locations, or
the content of chests.
Inventory, the content, yeah, or just the rocks or something on the ground.
That's the content of the chest. That's different. A hieroglyph. Do I have enough inventory space? I should just toss these. Since boss 5, which is the Mummy Queen in the pyramid, is not required, I am allowed to toss these hieroglyphs, which means I can just free up some inventory space.
Well done on not getting anything wrong in front of everybody.
It's not that big of a time loss if it happens, but it's a little bit embarrassing.
We know who's in chat.
Okay, so...
Where to next, Master Z?
I mean, we could YOLO it and go to Cress and hope we find both the magic dust and the... last mushroom drop there, or we could go to Moo since we're in the neighborhood. Because now I have 2 hope statues, which means I can check all the items in Moo. I don't have the 2nd Rammer statue to go for the boss, but Moo is one of those places where I don't necessarily mind to double dip as long as I have the 2 hope statues, because with Slider I can use shortcuts, and the shortcuts are gonna make it, yeah, pretty easy to get back to the boss room. I'm also still looking for the aura, which is another Go mode item. And I'm still looking for a way to unlock my last continent, which is continent 5, which has Dao and the pyramid. And the pyramid is the most packed location. It has 12 items in total. But I need the aura to play it. And yeah, I would like to have aura before I attack the vampires. Okay, I'm gonna go for the strat, but usually I mess it up. Damn it.
So one thing with the randomizer, if you have interest in playing this, we can definitely link the information for both the website and the Discord. But you are going to have to get a sense of what changes from vanilla are made. And so like this dungeon right here, there's usually empty chests in vanilla. They don't have any items, but they actually do have items here.
Yeah, you saw me pick up the empty chest items earlier, actually. I found one It's Nothing item in Euro, and I found one empty chest in Inca, I believe. So they are still in the game, but their location has been randomized as well. Yeah, but the Discord is actually a pretty good point to go, because in the Discord we have video guides, we have readmes for the different types of logic, we have a picture guide where every check is, where every dark space is, and how to get there.
Gaia even made a video guide on his thinking of going through a seed.
Yeah, I think we have multiple of those.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's what we're showing you is a pretty basic seed. It's not there are tons of more options you can put in. You can not only exchange the items, but you can also exchange the enemies in the dungeon. So you're going into Mu, but instead of Mu enemies, you can find Great Wall enemies in here. Or which would be called an Randomizer. Or you could use a boss shuffle seed. For those guys who've seen me run this on ZFM earlier this month, I played a boss shuffle seed where the bosses are in different locations, and you need to figure out where they are. You can play a overworld shuffle, which means the continents would have different locations connected to them. Like Continent 4 wouldn't necessarily be Euro, Natives Village, Uncovered and Cress. It could be Pyramid, South Cape, and Diamond Coast, for example.
You could even do entrance rando.
You could even do entrance rando when every door leads you somewhere else, which is makes finding items and finding entrances to dungeons more difficult. You could
turn on Z3 mode.
Yeah, could turn on Z3 mode, which means the stat upgrades work a bit different. You could play open world modes, then you would instantly have access to everything, to every continent, and you wouldn't have to wait like me to find the access points. You could play a fluteless seed if you so want. So Will would not have his flute to attack, but instead he would have to dodge the enemies or use his abilities to kill them. There's really tons and tons of options, and you can combine all these options as much as you like. So yeah, you can really, if you want a seed that's more on the riddle heavy, you can turn all those settings up. Like you can turn the difficulty to extreme, turn on chaos logic, add entrance randomizer on top of it. Or if you say no, I wanna practice for the speedrun and clear up my dungeon play, you can play on a normal difficulty, but you can turn up the combat difficulty. Like I'm playing on intermediate, you could play on advanced or expert. You could turn off fun stuff like early firebird, or you could turn on Red Jewel Madness, which is another game mode where every Red Jewel you use would cost you 1 HP. If you don't want to kill bosses, you can play a Red Jewel Hunt. There's so many different options. It's like you can really make your seed just the way you like it and just the way you prefer your challenge, and that's really fun. So it doesn't ever get boring, at least not in my opinion. And the page where you could roll your seeds would be iogr.app, where you would also find a link to the Discord if you're interested in.
That's right, iogr.app. Now, in that dungeon, it appears Z got his fourth and final crystal ball. He also got the aura So he has even more options open to him right now.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
with
kill
him
another.
going-
We're gonna kill another boss.
All right, he's gonna go take on Viper and get his third statue.
Also, I'm gonna clean up one item I missed. Because I now have Dark Freya and I can get the item in room 2. Since I'm here anyway, I might as well.
All the way down through room 2.
I mean, why not?
What are the chances something important's down there?
What are the chances that my magic dust might be there? One item can make the difference sometimes.
It could. But you can imagine with even normal settings like these. I mean, right now Zeke has this check to do. He wants to fight Viper. He has the aura for later whenever he goes to the final continent, or if he wants to use Shadow for anything earlier on. He has access to part of Mount Crest. He has access to all of Angkor Wat. And depending on the order that you do these things...
I don't have access to all of Mount Crest yet.
Right.
And
part of it.
I'm also... what I'm kind of is in the back of my mind, I might use Jeweler's Mansion to get access to Dao. So even red jewels might be very useful.
Right, so if he gets all 40 red jewels and talks to Gem the Jeweler, he'll get transported to the mansion every time he talks to the jeweler from that point on. If you leave the mansion, as soon as you warp to it, you'll automatically be transported to Dao. If you go through the mansion and beat Solid Arm, you'll be transferred to the top of Babel, where you can get the 6 Mystic statue.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you, Sola?
Man, it's almost like I knew what was going to happen.
Wait, were you trying to misdirect me?
No. I was just making some good content for the stream.
Yeah.
Speaking of good content, do we have time for another donation?
Maybe after this, I'm just gonna fight a boss, and it's gonna take half a minute, and then.
Okay,
we'll
sure.
have time. So this is Viper, second boss. I'm gonna use the safety struts again. That worked for me. Not very difficult. He basically has these cycles where he spits at you and then he shoots his feathers. Gonna use jump attacks to avoid taking damage, because in the jump attack animation I'm immune. And then I'm just gonna whack at him as he spits at me. And after 2 cycles, 2.5 cycles, I should be finished. Okay, and that was Viper. Pretty easy, so easy that you even do it as well. Now donation. Go on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we got $22 from Wildin without a comment, but that got us to $200.
Wow.
Thank you very, very much for this donation.
Thanks, Walden.
Congrats on the marathon for hitting that. What you thinking, Z? Where are we off to?
I'm thinking Angkor Wat at this point. I could go to Cress and hope for the YOLO mushroom drop. But my gut says Angkor Wat has something for me. So I'm gonna trust my gut feeling right now. My stats are pretty beefy, so wallbox and flies shouldn't be a big of a problem. And I think our viewers want to see flies. I already saw fly emotes at the start of the stream, so...
So, Z kind of touched on this a little earlier in the run, but every dungeon in the game uses a checkpoint system. Most of the time, those checkpoints are just set to the beginning of the dungeon, so when you death warp, you go back to the beginning of the dungeon. Inca has one right before cast-off, so if you go out into the plateau before cast-off and you die, you'll just get set right back to there. But this dungeon, Angkor Wat, utilizes multiple checkpoints. So he's going to be running around in the form of an outside ring, the first floor here. And that's to get to a point right on the other side of the entrance to Angkor Wat. And once he goes into the garden past that point, he'll set a new checkpoint. So if he dies, he'll just end up right there in the garden again. And then there will be another one a little bit further past that. So that actually makes the routing for this dungeon a little more interesting than most of the other dungeons. Once he finishes Angkor Wat, it's going to be up to him if he wants to run back out of the dungeon like he did for all the other ones, or if he's going to want to use a dark space to warp back to the beginning.
I'm always using a dark space unless it's overworld shuffle and my dark space is really far away.
Yeah. Usually it's not too punishing.
Yeah. This dungeon is also a dungeon where stuff hurts quite a lot. I mean, I have 4 defense upgrades, so I'm fine. But this is also a dungeon that's basically on rails. You can manipulate or predict the movement of nearly any enemy except for the garden. The garden is terrible because the garden is pure RNG and the garden has flies. These flies, they move so fast. They move unpredictably in a pattern, in no real pattern, and they just hurt so much. They don't hurt me as much anymore because, as I said, I already killed 3 bosses and I have 4 defense, so they don't hurt me as much, but they can end runs. If you have early Angkor Wat, like with starting stats, the garden is the most terrible. All the rest of the dungeon is pretty easy. Or it's not, I mean, it's pretty much on rails. You just have to move the same way and enemies will always move the same way. And you can predict and move around it. There's certain safe spots you can use, but the garden is just spray. Luckily, the garden has been nice to me. Now, since I picked up my Earthquaker, I can do a very advanced technique called Earthquaker skip, skip, skip. You might have to call to ask Walden about this, because he's the one who found it. Shots fired. Thanks again for your donation, Walden.
I'm a little lost on that one. I'm not going to touch that one. But imagine a world that's so joyful that you have Randomizer and there are flies in dungeons that they should not be.
Yeah, that's the flies are the main reason people don't like Randomizer. Because if you're in a certain in this dungeon, you have kind of enough room to dodge certain enemies. But imagine you're in Cress, where you only have a singular line in which you can move, and then there's flying enemies who can just zoom at you from every direction.
So he just death warped there, but you'll notice he ran into the room in this like second guarded room first, and then ran backwards to get an item, and then death warp. That's because when he ran into that room, he set a checkpoint, and it's faster to do that than it is to run back, get the item, then run forward and go into that room.
And I did do the death warp because I need will for these next few sections, and you always transform back to will when you death warp. And now I'm gonna go for the Shrubber.
We don't have the black glasses, which you would normally get here at the Shrubber. But whether you have the room memorized or whether you can see it on the screen you're looking at, it's not that difficult to get through this bright room.
Oh, unless you try to corner boost and hit every single corner.
Now, Z, you actually have a... you prefer this left route.
That's the way I learned it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I never learned the right route, I just learned the left route. I think right route would be slightly faster, but yeah, it's...
It doesn't matter. It's interesting. That's just...
It's how I thought myself the room.
It's cool to see it that way.
Oops.
See if I can actually see the stairs while you're running through. Nope, blind as a bat. Okay.
I'm playing on emulator. In emulator, the bright room is really bright.
Yeah, on console I can actually see the stairs.
Yeah, depending on your resolution on the screen, but in emulator the room is pretty invisible.
I'm just now understanding that shot at Wilden. And I completely understand I have the biggest grin on my face right now.
That's not as big as he had earlier today. I'm pretty sure.
You're gonna turn on your commentator.
I'm
Really?
gonna turn on everybody. You should know me by now.
Okay, so Z's just about to wrap up Angkor Wat. He's picked up a few interesting items here for sure.
But Memory Melody is pretty useful. And the Large Roast is also pretty useful. I think I might want to go... So basically, the pyramid would be open right now. There would be 12 checks. But the pyramid would take a lot of time. Because it's made out of 6 individual rooms, which all are either very long or very challenging. So I think I might want to go to the Tower of Babel first. Check those items real quick.
Yeah, the Tower of Babel, there's really it's a point of no return unless you have the crystal ring and want to do the boss rush. So you go to Babel, you get 2 items, and then you're forced to warp back to the start through a dark space.
Yeah, but it's not too bad because the my starting location is pretty decent.
It is. It's right in the middle of the game, and he has access to pretty much anywhere he wants to go.
Yeah.
From this point.
So I'm just gonna go back to Continent 2, go to our friend Neil, who's completely forgotten that he has a plane. But now that I'm gonna play him the Memory Melody, he will remember, and he will fly us to different continents.
While he's playing that melody, I think we didn't mention that just like the vanilla game, the bosses that you see are tied to the statue that they hold. Currently, you won't get statue 1 from fighting Mummy Queen. But the statue 6 is up to the runner how they want to acquire that. And it's kind of a give and take. If you choose to get statue 6 by doing the boss rush through Babel, it could potentially take longer, but you'll get the stat point bonus from fighting Mummy Queen 2.0. Or if you want to get statue 6 through fighting Solid Arm through the mansion, it could be a shorter route, but you don't get the stat boost from the enemies. So it's a routing choice depending on where you are in the seed.
Sadly, that was a bit of a waste of time. I got another HP upgrade, which is okay. And I got another red jewel. The last item that I got from the jeweler was at 40 red jewels, so I'm almost at that point already. So basically, if I find 5 more red jewels, every other red jewel will basically be a dead drop for me. Because Jeweler's Mansion has 1 item location still locked behind it. Might be necessary, I don't know yet. I could get another hint in Dao about it. But first I'm gonna feed this guy with a yummy yak roast. And they will allow me to travel to Dao. And there's more red jewels. I think I'm already...
Oof.
I think I'm already overstacked right now, right? I'm gonna play the snake game anyway. 50 seconds. Oops. So the snake game is randomized as well. In vanilla it's a minute. And in the randomizer it can be between 10 seconds and a minute. 50 is on the higher time. But the amount of snakes I have to hit depends on my combat difficulty. On intermediate it's always 3 less than you have seconds, I think. So it's 47 when you have 50 seconds, it's 7 when you have 10 seconds. So you can miss a couple of hits. But if you play on a higher difficulty, then you actually can't miss as many. And playing this for a minute gives me blisters on my fingers.
Now in Fluteless, this is really an interesting thing you have to go through.
You know what? I want to show off the God Pixel. We're gonna jump into Jeweler's Mansion and I want to show off the God Pixel. I think we have the time.
Yeah, you should be fine.
We're so good on time. So this is the secret dungeon. this is the dungeon you usually get in the vanilla game before when you find all 50 red jewels. And this dungeon has a lot of lag because of the ghosts that are on the on top of everything, but also because of these beholders that shoot lasers all across the room. But as you can see, I have so much strength, I can easily two-shot these guys with a slider. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kill all of them. Mostly because I feel safer if they are dead, but also because of lag reduction. And you see these enemies still hit very hard. I just got hit twice and I'm down half health despite my 4 defense. It's a necklace. Okay, why not? And this boss has a bonus dungeon which is required for, which can be used for statue number 6. And this boss used to be hard. When I played this as a kid, or when I played it casual later, this boss was so freaking hard because it hits like a truck. And yeah, speedrunners they destroy everything. So yeah. Hi, Cass. Hi, Soded Arm. Now I used item buffering to put myself in a pixel where I can hit the boss, but the boss can never hit me. So it's really easy. Item buffering, 4 times left, 4 times right. Move a bit up so you're almost on the conveyor belt and then just whack at him until he falls over.
Special shout out to Mr. Freet for finding that pixel. That is the only horizontal pixel that works for that.
That's also called the God Pixel because Mr. Freet is basically a god of this game. He found so many strats. He found the locations for the wrong warp, or he helped figure out a consistent setup for the wrong warp. And I'm gonna get my 6th statue. I killed that boss. I deserve it. I want it in my inventory.
No, that was a good fight. GG's on that.
Yeah, it's really very, very easy to do. I think I needed like I'm not a good speedrunner of this game in the usual setup, but this strat is so easy to pick up. It's yeah, made Randomizer so much more easy and consistent, and basically you can get hit in the am I going crest or I'm going pyramid? Let's go pyramid. Why not 100% deceit? We have the time. Yeah, you can really use it learn it very easily and then use it. Yeah, pyramid has the most checks in the game. 12 out of 130.
That's asking me the total amount. I'm not going to be helpful to you. It's somewhere between 115 and 125, something like that.
Wait. I just want my aura on position 1 for the upper Gaia fight. And the upper Gaia fight, I'm going to rely on muscle memory to menu.
You make it sound like it's a frantic kind of thing.
Whoops. So this is Shadow. This is how Shadow moves through walls. He just melts through. Whenever you see these blocks, Shadow can use the aura and then sink down the floor. We're gonna use it to gain access to the main portion of the pyramid. And we're gonna use it in a couple of rooms. And we're also gonna use aura glitch a couple of times. And maybe you can explain aura glitch while I get to the position.
Sure. So you saw Z sinking down into the ground with Shadow, and what that does, it puts him in an invincible state, and if it's somewhere where he can't warp slowly through the floor, he'll come back up, and he'll only be vulnerable once he's completely back up. Now what you can do is attack, and an attack is about 8 frames, I think. If you attack and then cancel that attack with aura within those 8 frames, Shadow will do that sinking animation, but he'll continue to attack at the frame-perfect rate that the game allows. And so you'll do constant damage while hitting enemies if they're on top of you. And most of the time it protects you from taking damage whenever you're sinking down on the floor. That bird soldier he just fought when he sunk down the first time in that room control you, just depending on where you land and where he ends up while you're sinking down. But using aura glitch when you're sinking down protects you a little bit, because if you hit that soldier, most of the time it knocks him out of the way while you're rising up.
I'm also using iframe dashes to get through these bird soldiers. This is actually... Is it frame perfect or is it 3 frames? I forget.
It's the same kind of thing with the aura glitch. I think an attack animation is about 8 frames, and so as long as you are sprinting, you attack, and then it's up to you or not if you continue the sprint. As long as you let go of that direction, tap B, and then repress that direction, you'll just continue sprinting through within that 8-frame window. But so, when we started the game, Z was going into dark spaces, and he was finding Will, he was finding Friedan. It just really depended on what character he was at the time. So Will and Friedan are always unlocked in dark spaces.
That was lucky.
But Shadow, once you get the aura and you use it, which Z chose to use the aura as soon as he got to the pyramid, any dark space you go to from now on will have Shadow in it, as long as it's not a dark space that has an ability move. So from this point,
nice.
Yeah, it was a good call to come in here first.
Yeah,
if he
basically
needs to use Shadow for anything in the game now, he can transform into Shadow to dark space, and he'll be doing increased damage and just kind of moving faster overall through dungeons with him.
And we're definitely gonna kill the vampires with Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you'll get the good use of the aura glitch with that.
Yeah, because I know that the dark space is a transformation dark space. So we're just basically we're 1 item away from go mode now. We're looking for the last Rama statue, and then we just have to kill the vampires and move through Cress. I didn't unequip the aura. That's why my item buffering didn't work. Doesn't matter. So basically I'm 1 item away from go mode, then I need to kill the vampires, I need to go through Cress. I'm finding a lot of unnecessary red jewels now, because there's 50 red jewels in the game. It's just the most common item. But yeah, usually the pyramid is pretty dangerous, but I already killed 3 bosses, technically 4. But the 6th boss, statue 6 didn't give me any stat upgrades. Like Solar said, I only get the stat upgrades for boss 6 if I play boss rush. So I'm not that worried about the pyramid anymore. But yeah, certain rooms are still difficult. Like this room is my least favorite room. It's very, very long, and there's a kind of a mini gauntlet. These next couple rooms need specific movements to get through them without taking damage, and after that I'm gonna get to, if I don't mess up, I'm gonna get through a room with spikes coming from the ceilings where I need to find the right timing. And yeah, after that there's another room with spikes and those little laser orb thingies that can mess me up. And like here I missed the timing. Not too bad, I can still get through this. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, I can get 1 more item down here. Just slash these guys out of the way. I'm trying to avoid killing enemies as much as possible. Usually I just kill enemies if they are really in a spot where they can get dangerous for me, or if they are required to be killed to open a passage or something. So here in the pyramid you saw me kill a couple of rooms in the room with Shadow, a couple of enemies, because I knew I had to go through that room twice and I wanted those guys out of the way. But yeah, I have no reason to kill any other enemy in this game, except in room 2, where there's certain enemies that are just in the way and I don't want them to bother me. I'm not gonna go for Killer 6. Not that desperate yet.
All right, so yeah, he's going through the rooms with Will right now. As he just said, he's not going to do Killer 6. That would be a room with Shadow. So usually rooms 3 and rooms 5 are ones that you clear with Shadow, and then the other rooms you can clear with Will. Some you can clear with Shadow also, but it's usually easier to just go through them with Will, especially if you have Spin Dash. Yeah, so this trick he's about to do right here, although it's not actually a trick, it's kind of intended strat. This corridor he just fell down, that was completely new to everybody. Don't Bagu Me was going through the maps on Gaia the Creator and just saw that we had these columns here. And this ended up being a 11 to 14 second time save in the vanilla speedruns that used them. And kind of changed the routing through the pyramid. This is another attribution to the randomizer for finding glitches.
Yeah, that's made this room from a shadow room to a will room. And will rooms are always better because at the end of the will room you can death warp. If you have a shadow room, you need to use the blue teleporter to get back to the top, and you need to transform into shadow, and you need to sink back down. And if you will, you can just death warp and leave the room and go to the next.
Yeah, and from a speedrun point of view, it was much scarier to do room 3, 2, and 5 as Shadow without trying to heal. And then when this was found from the randomizer, it helped out a lot that you only have 2 rooms to deal with Shadow instead of 3.
Yeah, especially since in the vanilla speedrun you don't have that beefed up stats as I have right now. In the speedrun, usually 4 hits, and in the pyramid end you're just dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making it look way easier than it actually is, but yeah, getting to the end of the seed. I'm pretty much indestructible at this point.
We could also call it your skill.
We could, but would that be completely honest? I don't know. Okay.
Oh my.
I'm gonna skip the Killer 6 check. It's very long, and yeah.
Though it was sped up a little bit. Bagu made the elevator rides much faster in room 3, so
I mean,
not always a big time sink to go through there.
Yeah, I guess with my stats it wouldn't be that risky. But I'm gonna go now to Cress, because I need to go to Cress anyway. And I have all 3 mushroom drops, and I know Kara will be there, so finally we're going into every speedrunner's favorite dungeon. Especially since the wrong warp has been found by Herosoft. In this dungeon you don't have much room to maneuver. You have enemies that can fly, enemies that shoot projectiles, spiders that can either spit at you or move into your way with their webs, and you have these annoying fairy guys who shoot fireballs, and yeah, it's just... Oh, Solar Stop didn't betray me for once.
I don't like you talking about that in marathons. We're talking about warps and Z ladders, and you're just talking about a pixel to stop all. Like, it's such a small contribution.
It's a helpful contribution, though, especially on low stats. Then you don't take an unnecessary hit. Yeah, but this dungeon is also packed with enemies. There's so many sprites that in one room there are so many sprites on the map that the game just basically can immediately die on you. You can soft lock in that room, and you can also use that to produce a sprite overload. And what Herosoft found out by accident was that the sprite overload can trigger a teleport to a specific location. And it turns out, using the item buffering you saw me use in different locations earlier, you can use item buffering to get into a pixel perfect position, and then then this position correlates to a specific map on the worlds you can go to, and you can trigger the sprite overloads using Aura Barrier, and then warp yourself to basically any position in any room in the game. Almost any room. I think you can't get to the raft, but you can warp yourself into the credits. What am I even? I don't need this dark space. So basically, when this wrong warp was found, and when Mr. Freed, SpeedCon, and Solar Cell started mapping out the locations. Basically, we had 3 new speedrun categories, which was any %, which is basically the credit warps. We had Beat Gaia, which just warps to the final boss fight. Or we had a really crazy category, which is Beat All Bosses, which teleports, I think, 3 or 4 times.
3 times, yeah.
3 times, really crazy. Look up that run on YouTube or on speedruns.com. It's really, really, it's crazy with so much warping. And leave me be, fairies. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, what happened was that people were only playing 2 crests and then using the warps to skip the pyramids, skip Angkor Wat, and skip basically the nasty parts of the game. Oh, come on. That was rude. I missed the timing there. Usually that skull is not even close when I want to spin up there. Yeah, this is the room where the wrong warp can happen. But as I said, it can also crash my game. So I'm gonna kill a couple of spiders, not because they are particularly dangerous, but just because I want these sprites gone, so I don't accidentally lock myself.
Yeah, aside from the warp, and I've had it happen for Marathon too, if you do specific moves like spin dash, when the spiders that he just killed are all trying to spit webs or move or do something, certain things don't get loaded, and a few seconds later it'll just hard lock your game, and then you're done.
And I haven't saved in quite a while. I think before the pyramid was the last time I saved.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So yeah, I don't want to do all that stuff again. So I'm still looking for my last item, but it's not that terrible. I still have a couple locations to go. I still have 1 item here in Cress, but I'm more interested in freeing Princess Kara now. I could still go to Sam for 1 item. I could collect Lily and go to Edward's Castle and collect the last items that were in there. I could open the coffin. That's not what I wanted to see. Oh. What else can I do? Killer 6 is still an option. Yeah, there's still a couple of...
Yeah, but that's just about it. You've gone through this seed pretty quick.
Yeah, it was pretty generous to give me a really early boss kill. That meant I had some stat upgrades from the early on, and I could go a bit more aggressive, or I could play a bit sloppy and it wouldn't immediately kill me. That was pretty nice. Yeah, so I think I want to go Lily first. Gonna go collect Lily first. Which means we're going back to South Cape, using all my travel items.
So yeah, at this point, if you're running this game, you're kind of looking at what the logic says. So he's going to go to Lily right now. And he basically only has a few checks left anyway. So for Lily, you know that you need Lola's Melody. So that holds Lily behind that. And then you need the necklace, which he got in the mansion, which is pretty far into the game anyway. And then those checks that she's associated with are 2 checks in Edward's Dungeon and 1 check in the Coffin in Seaside Palace. So they're pretty far in logic, but to be fair, Z's pretty far in logic right now in the game. There's only a couple checks left.
Basically, all the checks in Angkor Wat were not in logic yet, because I still don't have the black glasses. So I've done a couple of checks that were out of logic. So I'm not that sure how late Necklace really was, because I have to assume the game didn't expect me to go to Angkor Wat that early.
Well, Necklace was in
Jeweler's
Mansion,
Mansion,
right?
yeah. But I did go Pyramid pretty late.
So you mentioned Sam. Sam's locked behind the elevator key and the 2 mine keys that he has. He has all of those. Killer 6 is locked behind 10 herbs, is it?
What is this skeleton RNG? 2 times that he moved the right way. Yeah. If you don't have any stat upgrades, it's locked behind 10 herbs. But if you have access to boss kills and stat upgrades, it can be lower. Though at this point, I'm obviously... I even have the Crystal Ring, and I have Kara now, so I have early Firebirds as well. So at this point, it's not a problem anymore. We're just gonna open this last passage. Lily is flying off to the side, and she's gonna push the button on 3, though she counts very slow.
And not consistently. Yeah, at the very least, we'll see early Firebird against the vampires if he transforms there.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna see it here, because I'm definitely gonna take Shadow. Usually you wouldn't have Shadow at this point in the game, you'd only have Freedom. I think this is the first... No, this is the first Dark Space that you would transform into Freedom in Vanilla. But we're gonna use Shadow because Freedom is an old man at the end of the dungeon. He's gonna stand there, take a breath, take a knee, and he's gonna take a little while to transform back into Will, but Shadow is just liquid, so he's gonna transform back a bit faster. Also, Shadow deals 1 more damage, so these skeletons that I have to kill die a little bit faster. Though with 6 strength upgrades, it's barely a difference.
So you saw the Firebirds coming out. They do random damage. We saw a couple 8s, 9s, and then 18s and 19s. But either way, that's a really strong attack to have when you're just running through these early dungeons.
Unless you shoot past the guy. Okay, now I'm transformed back. I have 1 more item, which is in this barrel. It's a hieroglyph tile. Yay, Mummy Queen is now open. I can't kill Mummy Queen in this seat anymore. I already tossed some of the hieroglyphs. Yeah. I guess we're going to the coffin next. I can use the moon tribe to call the ghosts. And these ghosts allow me to move to Sea Palace really fast.
That teapot's the early continental travel item that gets you between Continent 1, 2, and then just Seaside.
Yeah. Seaside, you still need the key to get out. But Seaside Palace also has a dark space, has 3 items that you can get without everything else, so sometimes it's worth checking Seaside just for those items, even if you can't get out yet. Okay, and now Lily is gonna transform into a dandelion seed again. And she's gonna open this coffin for us. And there's an item inside, and maybe it's a good item. It's the black glasses. Yay, now my Angkor Wat checks are in logic. Am I really going to 100% this seed?
I'll never tell.
It looks like it. Okay, so I have 2 locations left, I think. Which is Sam in the diamond mine behind the 2 mine keys. Or Killer 6. I think that's all that's left.
That's all you got. You got a red jewel and you got the Rama statue.
Yeah, we're gonna obviously we're going to go to the diamond mine first. Just because it's very easy to get there and it's way quicker. But also, if the diamond mine is a dot, then I'm immediately at Niels and I can fly back to Dao and go to the pyramid. So it's also a bit better for routing.
There's a neat little Easter egg if Kara is actually at the back of Diamond Mine. Because it's difficult to get her painting on the same sprite sheet and palette as what's in Diamond Mine. There had to be an NPC replacement, so instead of the laborers that are usually in the back of Diamond Mine, you'll have a purple Hamlet instead that we call Samlet.
Yeah.
But those are only for Kara and Diamond Mine seeds.
Yeah, basically what happens is we had the Hamlet sprite is on the same sprite palette as the painting, but the sprites sometimes take the color palette of the location they're in, and the color palette for Diamond Mine is blue, so the pink Hamlet turned into, oh my god, the pink Hamlet turned into the blue Samlet.
Would you have preferred I told you, Z?
Nah, I prefer it this way. What am I doing? I can just... Depth warping is going to take a while, but... It's still faster than...
There's one check left in the game. It's behind the Killer 6. He knows what's going to be there. You hate to see it, because it's normally a little rarer to have a required item off the Killer 6.
I mean, the Killer 6 is a pretty reasonable last location item.
Mm-hmm.
It's it takes a bit of time, but we still have a half an hour left, and I don't have that much more to show. So yeah, we're gonna go underestimate people. And yeah, it's Killer 6. We just say the Killer 6 is so difficult, but the room before the Killer 6 isn't that easy either. So yeah, it's just a hard room in general. You can get hit a couple of times before hit a couple of times before you even get to them, and then when you're at Killer 6 and at low HP and you don't have many herbs left. I didn't use a single herb this run because I wanted them all for Upper Gaia, but if I'm going there and I'm low on HP, I'm gonna eat one, of course.
Luckily,
with 4 defense, I should only take 2 damage from the laser orbs. So I should be fine.
You're a tank right now. Should be fine.
Yeah, I should be fine. I also have 6 strength, so my Firebirds are gonna deal at least 8 damage, so 2 Firebirds and a laser orb is dead.
Well, while you're going through this, this is probably the last good time, if there's anything that the bosses would like to read out about the charity or any donation readings.
Yes, sure, I can do that. Sadly, we don't have any donations, but that would be the perfect time to now get a quick one in. But in the meantime, I can tell you what you can do with just $1 for Save the Children. $1 can provide 4 children with the treatment against leukemia, a life-threatening illness. So for just $1, saving 4 children's life is just pretty amazing. So yeah, how much time do I have left?
A couple minutes.
A couple of minutes, perfect. Then we can go up the scale a little bit. Just for $100, Save the Children can supply the shelter and essential supplies by a family in a crisis that's needed to survive. So $100, so basically we just saved 2 families in a crisis.
Headset
Yeah.
headset warning. Very quick headset warning. Valhalla! Ah, I messed it up. Sorry. I need to scream when Solar is in comms.
Guarantees a full life clear every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Sorry. So there's my last Rama statue. Now we're going to the boss. And yeah, I think we're gonna have... I don't know. Vampires shouldn't take too long. Gaia fight with these stats should be hopefully a first try, but Gaia has its own rules. Phase 4 can just destroy you. Why am I not going into a dark space and just traveling? That would be way faster. Well, time loss, I guess.
Oh, it's nothing to worry about right now.
Nah.
So while you're going to go through this, would you mind if I talk a little bit about the history of Apocalypse Gaia?
No. You go ahead. I'm gonna butt in again when we're at the vampires and maybe want to talk about that boss fight. But yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So when Don't Bagu Me with Raven Zero was going through the code in the early days of the randomizer, Raven noticed some broken pieces of code that represented what he believed the developers thought was an intended final super boss of the game. It was just kind of hidden in there, it wasn't really put to good use, and it was broken, so it wasn't going to work anyway. But he tried to piece together what he thought was the intent of the developers. And it took a few iterations. It had a lot of different shapes going through it. And we talked about, all the early playtesters talked about it, what should happen, and how to make it fun. And we're very lucky that he's going to be showing it off today. Who was it again? Who was shouting out?
Seedmaster.
You mentioned earlier?
Seedmaster.
Seedmaster. Thank you for that generous donation so we could see that tonight.
Amazing guy.
But before we get there, Z is on his way to the vampires right now. As promised, we're going to get to see the aura glitch, unless you stand back and use early Firebird, but it's usually... Well, it's up to you.
Seed system. I'm sorry. I thought you were... it's a different name on the different name on the Discord, I think. Okay, yeah, vampires usually terribly hard boss in the randomizer. They just melt. Like this.
So you see that constant 3 damage that he's doing. That's being done on a frame perfect hit when he's sinking into the ground. You can't go any faster than that. The game won't allow you to.
Oh, sorry. I messed that up. Come on, guy. There we go.
Male vampire, always the trolliest of the
Yeah.
vampires.
I wasn't going as aggressive as I could have been.
That's fine. Final statue needed acquired.
Yeah, now all I need to do is go to a dark space, and that will get me to the final boss. 26 HP and 4 defense is plenty for Gaia, especially when I think that I have 12 herbs in my inventory. So, yeah.
Something else that's really useful and helpful with Apocalypse Gaia is that so Apocalypse Gaia is broken into the normal Dark Gaia fight and then additional phases past that. If you get to the additional phases, any herbs that you have at that point get saved. And so if you die on Apocalypse Gaia, you'll go back to the additional phases start. You won't start at the original Dark Gaia, and you'll still keep all the herbs you had at that point.
Yeah.
If you use them past that.
So the idea is do phases 1 and 2 as usual, don't eat any herbs. Even if you get hits, it's usually quicker to just tank a quick death in phase 3 than use some herbs and not. Especially if you don't... I mean, I have all 12 of them right now, but if you only have like 6 or so, it's usually easier to take a quick reset at the start of phase 3. Yeah, a bit of a photosensitivity warning. Phase 4 in particular will have a lot of flashes, a lot of fireballs, acid rain, laser orbs, all that kind of stuff, and it's really gonna hurt your eyes. So if you got a problem with that, I'm gonna give you a warning. Phase 4, you should probably look away.
Alright, good luck on this fight, Z.
Thank you.
So he does have 5 phases to go through, and time will be at the end of the 5th phase, but he'll give you a warning on that.
Yeah, we'll give you a warning. The first 2 phases are normal, almost normal. This acid rain, as you can see, the projectiles all have the same speed. That's because this acid rain is going to come back in a later phase, and if we had 2 different speeds in the later phases, it would just be too punishing. So Raven normalized the speed of these acid rain projectiles. Oh, damn it. That was stupid. Not that big of a deal. So, you saw the acid rain. Now you're gonna see the laser orbs. These laser orbs are homing projectiles, but I can block them. You're gonna see the laser orbs again in the further phases. You see these bubbles as... Oh my god, that was unlucky. You're gonna see a more aggressive phase of these bubbles in phase 3. And you're gonna see the mouth laser, which I can only dodge by using aura or by walking out of it, but usually you try to get as many hits in as possible and then use the aura to avoid it. There are gonna be red orbs in the next phases that I cannot block, that I have to avoid with aura the same way I dodged the mouth laser. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not too worried about damage right now. If necessary, I can just take a quick reset on phase 3. Ah, damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna take the reset on phase 3. I was going for a 3 cycle, but I missed the last hit.
Nothing wrong with a little aggression on a fight.
Okay, now it's gonna be a bit hectic on the screen. What's gonna happen is there are gonna be 2 mini heads that will shoot red orbs at me that I can only avoid by using the aura. And there's gonna be red bubbles that are more aggressive than the blue ones you saw earlier. I have to kill both these heads, and they're gonna alternate in who shoots first. So I can get a... I can kill one head, but I need to be careful from where the projectile is coming so I don't get it accidentally hit. Ah, I wanted to tank a death, right?
Pretty far in now, though.
Now it's too late for that, yeah. I'm gonna...
You have all your herbs, you might as well just
I'm gonna use
roam around.
And after this head is death, then there's gonna be laser orbs, there's gonna be acid rain, there's gonna be red orbs that explode, and there's gonna be lots of flashes. So if you don't deal with lights, please minimize the stream now or something. And Solar is gonna take over talking because I need to focus on not dying.
Sure. So as you can see, the acid rain is back, and these yellow orbs will appear. The yellow orbs reappear either from actually hitting that head that's floating around, or also if you just leave it alone for too long. Every once in a while, you'll see these little red dots being spat out by the head, and 3 kind of spiral attacks shoot from that. So what Z's going to be doing is kind of a defensive swing, and then sink, and then attack, and then try to sink again to protect himself. There is a little bit of a breather if you don't attack the head, and those yellow orbs finally stop, where you can kind of reset yourself, but it's a panic fest for sure. But right now he's on to the final phase, phase 5. It'll be, I guess, 11 hits on this, and then it'll be time.
7 hits.
7 hits?
Yeah, she has a half health bar.
Oh yeah,
so
7.
20 HP. That's 7 hits. And I'm going to be really defensive now, because I took a ton of hits in phase 4. I didn't get good acid rain RNG, and I'm gonna stand in the bottom corner. because I don't want to get hit by the red orbs. There's only 2 angles that the red orbs can hit me down here. And also I'm gonna lure the big heads down that way. When the big head has many shields, it's gonna move towards me. It's gonna be aggressive and the heads will try to crash into me. But as soon as there's less heads, then the big head will avoid me and it will move away from me. So by staying at the bottom, I lure it downwards and I can get multiple. I can hit multiple heads at once, or I can just do a quick sweep up and yeah, sink in some hits. It's not the fastest way, but again, it's a bit safer and it's a bit more consistent. At least for me, it is. I could also just tank damage and heal with my herbs, but at this point.
So he can't just straight on kill that center head right now. It's completely immune until you kill all the floating heads around it, and then you're only allowed 1 hit on it before it regenerates those shielding heads. What's really, really fun about this fight is that the music actually speeds up as this phase goes on. It was a bug originally, but when we noticed it, it was decided to be left in because it really adds to the intensity of the fight.
Yeah, I don't know if you hear it, but I hear it, and I'm always pumped when this is going on. It's always like, oh my god.
Yeah, so you can see, I mean, that red orb spinning around there and that yellow, everything shoots faster as this goes on too.
Yeah.
So it is really intense when you get to the last couple of hits.
Technically, the last phases also go a bit faster because the heads, when there's more heads, they are more aggressive, and you can kill multiple hits at once. But yeah, as you can see, you need a bit of timing, and you need to be in the right position. So right now, I'm trying to lure it down again. Ooh, not my cleanest. This is the last hit, by the way. If I hit the there's gonna be time on the last hit on the big head.
Thank you for healing.
I'm too far in. I'm not risking it anymore. Not the cleanest fight I ever had, but I guess it's first try. Wow, that was a rude red orb. That was one of these 2 angles that can hit me. Wow.
Oh, she's trying to stay alive.
And time.
GG.
156.
Well done.
156.31 for a 100% seed. Not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Well done, Z.
Yeah, that was Illusion of Gaia Randomizer. You can roll seeds without the bonus boss, of course. Then the fight stops at Dark Gaia. Apocalypse Gaia is yeah, it's pretty much of a mess. And don't be discouraged if you just saw it the first time and you think, oh my god, I didn't even notice what happened on screen. That's normal. That's happened to everybody. You don't realize how it works unless you fight it yourself, I guess. I didn't check what Solar was doing when I watched him kill this guy, I think, the first time. So that's normal. Yeah, but I hope you got a good impression on the randomizer. I think it's really fun because there's so many options you can play. What you saw from me today was very basic, but there's so many possibilities, and also there's a really great community behind this. Currently, Don't Begumi is already working on a new feature, which is going to be Dungeon Shuffle, which is currently being playtested and might be published soon. But we're also having a weekly seeds where the community basically rolls a seed with randomized settings, and then we have a little community challenge. We do races. We do bingo seeds, we do, fun settings at times. Rando Everything is a setting we sometimes run where we just crank everything up to the max and then see what the game tosses at us. Solar is a particular fan of this setting.
Don't lie to the people, Z.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, if you want to get into this, it's iogr.app. You can roll your own seed. You can also join the Discord. Like you said, the Discord link is on there. We'd love to have you as part of the community. It's a blast.
And there's also all kinds of information and helpful stuff you can find on the Discord. So yeah, would be great to see even more guys on the weekly leaderboard. We also had our first ever Illusion of Gaia randomizer tournament earlier this year in January. And yeah, we might have another one coming, so keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah.
And
Thank you both. Oh, you finished?
just shoutouts to Don't Bagumi for the randomizer. Shoutouts to Raven for Apocalypse Gaia and Apocalypse for the tracker. And shoutouts to Solar Cell for helping me commentate this and for jumping in on short notice. Thank you very much.
Got your back, buddy. We throw it on back to you, boss man.
Yeah, and shoutouts to Thee for showing us this amazing randomizer. I had a ton of fun watching this, and I hope you all did as well. And speaking of randomizer, the next randomizer is coming up as the next run. Chris Tallis beat the game, so stay tuned.